Well, this is a closing question, and this one is to you, Mark. There will be a public forum at WCU on fracking in just a few weeks. Some argue that fracking brings considerable jobs, potential energy independence, and few environmental hazards, while others argue that fracking can damage the environment irreparably, including potentially harming tourism in this part of our state. What's your stance on this issue on fracking, and what should Congress's role be in this debate?
Really, Congress doesn't have a role as it relates to fracking. I mean, that's a state issue that really the state has weighed in. Fracking is not a viable option in western North Carolina. You know, whether you're for it or against it, it's just not going to happen. Now, I can tell you when there is fracking, what we do see are increased jobs. You can go to North Dakota and pay $17 to work in a McDonald's. You can pay $600 a night to stay in a Motel 6. You know, when you start to look at it, they have actually unemployment that is positive. They're having to bring people in to actually work. So does it create jobs? Without a doubt. You know, really what we have is we've got an energy problem. And we can talk about minimum wage, we can talk about all these other things, but when a single mom is having to fill up her tank and go to work and having to fill it up at $3.50 a gallon, that really puts an impact on whether she puts food on the table, because it doesn't stop there. Every bit of food that goes on the table is affected by the price of gas. And what we've done is we have become energy snobs, thinking that we can have solar that provides it all. I was around when the energy department was started, and we had an aggressive goal of 5%. We have 674 federal programs that support sustainable energy, and we're still at 7 to 10% of our overall energy consumption. We need to get gas prices down so that single moms and people on fixed incomes can have a pay increase. That's a real pay increase.
Tom, your thoughts on fracking?
2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes.
2 minutes, sir.
I am so confused. Mark said a while ago that we have a surplus of natural gas, we don't need fracking. Now he says we do fracking, it's going to lift us out, it's going to make money. There must be a market for it somewhere, okay? So I don't understand how we have all this surplus and we still need to frack. Now, I want to say that this fracking is a federal issue at its inception. It was Dick Cheney who met with various groups and got fracking exempted from the purview of the Environmental Protection Agency. And that is the root of this problem. It never should have been left to these guys down in biased guys down in Raleigh or any Georgia or state capital or any of these other places. It should have been decided in Washington, D.C. Fracking should have been subject to the EPA rules like everything else that goes into the ground. And it was wrong from the beginning. On 2 occasions, the Democrats have introduced measures in Congress to repeal that portion of the law that exempts fracking. And both times it has died. So I can tell you that this idea that it's not a federal issue is nonsense. It should have been. It is a national issue. Should have been solved at the national level, and it was not. Now, as far as we don't need to worry about it here in North Carolina. After all these good people in Jackson County got up in arms, we're not going to proceed with this fracking. We're not going to proceed with the elected elections over, and then we'll be right back into it. Anything that makes money, just look at it with a jaundiced eye. And there are places to make money, but by contaminating our drinking water is not one of them.
Mark, a lot of communities are concerned about the environmental impact. You have a minute here.
You know, I'm concerned about environmental impact. The EPA continues to roll out regulation after regulation, many that are going to hurt our farmers when it comes to some of the new regulations that are coming out. And you know what? They double speak. They said this is not going to expand any of our regulatory authority. Then my question is, why pass it? If it's not going to expand anything, if it's not going to do anything, why pass it? Well, they continue to roll it out. I would be willing to look at the EPA when they clean up the CTS site that's in our backyard, when they get it cleaned up, because they're not even talking about months, they're talking about years and years. It's been 25 years. When they can handle a known problem then maybe we can go after him.
30 seconds.
I think, yeah, you do.
30 seconds. My question
You have a
is,
minute.
Mark, you've been up there 2 years, what have you done about the CTS, right? If you've done anything, I don't know what it is, right? You met with a couple of people, and then they came back, and they said, Mark's gonna help us, and they came back, say, Mark's not gonna help us. So I don't know what Mark's done about CTS. As far as the fracking issue in general, it's a federal issue, I repeat myself, and it has to be solved at the federal level.
Well, I guess I
Yeah,
did
you can have a
respond.
30-second
To respond
yeah,
to
to
that.
address the question about.
He does a lot of
involvement.
research on the internet, so he just needs to go and look at YouTube, put in CTS, Mark Meadows, he'll see a number of hearings, but more importantly than that, you'll see that the Inspector General has come in to open up an investigation. I get weekly reports from the EPA on what progress they made. For the first time ever, we've actually got remedial action that is about to start. We have people that have been relocated for safety purposes. None of that would have happened. We started that. Our staff, our great staff, started that early on when we were there, and there hasn't been a month that has gone by that we haven't addressed it. And so, for him to suggest he just hadn't done something.
I've talked to Peyton Queen, instead he lives
Tatum Queen's running for Congress.
and he lives at the site.
Yeah.
Well, let's